morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you are all watching this, whether you're part of my Instagram, Facebook community, or by the time this gets to YouTube a couple days later. Deborah Roth here, back, I promise, this week. I kind of fooled you all last week, with another installation of my very long, 4 years now, that's long for me, series of looking at goddesses from around the world and embodying their archetypes and their qualities, which we all have within us. We all have those qualities of the divine feminine, this inner goddess team video series. And last week, I for a number of reasons, you have to watch last week's to see why I diverted away from goddesses and instead went with just a fun, joyful exploration of joy intelligence. But and actually it did make more sense to do the goddess that I am introducing today, a really dear friend of mine who's Scottish descent and very connected with Scottish and Druid mythology and spirituality. Hadn't heard of this one, so there isn't a whole lot of, well, there is information about her, but not as rich, I have to say, as you get all the myths around some of the Greek and Roman goddesses, and even Celtic goddesses, and even other Scottish goddesses that talks about their, who their parents were and their children, and stories that have to do with how they bring their magic, to bring their qualities into the world. So her name, without further preamble, is Nicneven, Nicneven or Vin alternately. And she's perfect to do this week. That at the end of the week we are celebrating all over the world, honoring and acknowledging on the Wheel of the Year. We're celebrating this time of year where the veil is thought, in cultures all over the world, the veil is thought to be the thinnest between the magical worlds and the mundane worlds, between the world of the living and the world of our ancestors, of the dead. And so this is a perfect week and really a perfect time, because starting on Halloween, what we know is Halloween, and in ancient times it was called Samhain in the Celtic lands. Day of the Dead is that day or the next day, El Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, All Saints, All Souls Day. This is a very pivotal time on the Wheel of the Year with people who practice the Wiccan religion and the Wheel of the Year acknowledgments and the cross-quarter days. This is considered the new year, and it is a time, though, having said that, it is a time of descent. Literally the 6 weeks from Samhain, Halloween, El Dia de los Muertos, and All Saints, All Souls, all the different things it's been called over the years. And I've written a lot about all the different celebrations around the world that have happened. These 6 weeks from then until the winter solstice are the darkest weeks of the year. We're moving into the solstice time, when in that moment, in that bittersweet moment, it's the time of darkest, the longest nights and the shortest days. And I pointed out to someone who wasn't as cyclical thinking as I am, that our bodies, why resist that? Nature's doing it. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're watching gorgeous leaves turn beautiful colors and drop all over the place. And so it is a time for us to let go, for us to go within. And the winter months can be a time for self-reflection and hibernating. Let's learn something from the animal kingdom. So I could go on and on about that, but I'm setting the tone, I guess, for this wonderful goddess. And you can set it further. I'll put in a little plug here. On the new moon this month, new moon in Scorpio, which is a deep and transformative energy to begin with, is actually on November 1st. Is actually the day after Samhain, Halloween, the day of the Dead and of All Souls Day. I will be doing my virtual new moon circle at the Wellness Universe, and I'll you can look all over my stuff and you can get the link for that. And then my dear friend Barbara Bijou is doing a live one for those of you that are in New York. She is she's doing a beautiful one on Friday night, which I will be at. So no more about that. I want to make sure we have enough time to tell you about Nicneven. Hello, folks that have joined me live. Always wonderful to have you here. And of course, always wonderful to have those of you who will watch later. You're here in spirit too right now. I always say that on my virtual new moon circles. So Nicneven, her name, her Gaelic, the origins of her name, and I'm probably going to destroy this, so anyone who speaks Gaelic or knows the right pronunciation, was, let's see, Niach Nawan, meaning daughter of the divine. In one place, it was first translated as daughter of the frenzy. And then in deeper, other scholars have said it's actually of the divine. Kind of an interesting way, yet another example of where these early goddesses, pre-Christian goddesses that peoples all over the world, and in this case in Scotland, honored before Christianity took root, how that was kind of sublimated. So she governs the realms of magic, of divination, of so great time to pull your tarot cards, or I have these beautiful cards that I've been pulling once a week called the Mother Mary cards. So great time to do divination. And she also represents peace and the imminence of winter. And, reminding us that, yes, we're letting go of a lot of things now, but that's okay. That's the natural cycle of things, death and rebirth. And this goddess is very much about that. She's also about spinning and weaving, and I couldn't really find where that connection was. I looked at a whole bunch of places, and I always share some of my resources on the YouTube, on my YouTube write-up, which appears usually Wednesday or Thursday night on YouTube is when my web goddess gets them up there. So you can do your own exploring. There is a fair amount out there, not just about her mythology and her family and that kind of thing. She's also a great one for protection, and her symbols, big surprise, are pumpkins and gourds, which it was believed in ancient times that you could carve and put a candle in them, just like we do today, funny about that, to help with the spirit's transition, or to attract helpful spirits, protective spirits into your life, to cross that limit, to cross that threshold between the living and the dead. If you've ever seen the wonderful Pixar movie Coco, is just a beautiful representation of how we can rely, if we choose to, on the wisdom of our ancestors. We'll actually be doing that in our new moon circle on Friday. So she's tied to the season. She's tied to the cycles, not just death and life and death and rebirth and life and letting go, but also to the harvest cycles. So she's a great one for particularly this week. So I feel just fine that I saved her until this week. She was also seen as a mother goddess because of the way that she was able to govern the cycles of the year and the cycles of nature. And in that way, also connected with Greek Hecate, or with, I think it's the Norse Freya. So lots of connections to mother goddesses as well. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you about her? She was also, and again, when in the pre-Christian times, when Scotland officially converted to Christianity, at that point, she became not just this powerful mother goddess that protected you and helped you or your loved ones make the transition into the underworld. She became the queen of the fairies and the queen of the witches. And as we know, in the Middle Ages, witches were, well, more than just demonized. Women were killed. Women who had any power, who had any knowledge of herbal medicine, of healing, they were a threat to the budding church. And so in Germany apparently was one of the big places that it happened, but it happened all over Europe, and we know it happened in this country as well. So there are, once you start looking, and I'm looking to see some of the places. I don't want to give you the websites right here because that would be too cumbersome. So she was much like, frankly, Eve was made out to be a bad guy. She was also made out to be a demon, and that the fairies were mischievous fairies. They weren't necessarily helpful ones. So think of, if you want to call on mischievous, fun-loving fairies, you could certainly call on Nicneven. It was also said that she had a male consort, but his name is never given. One of the authors that I was reading about said that she felt that it was maybe because he changed with her moods, a connection to Hela of the underworld in Scandinavia as well. She could also transform rocks and sea into dry land, and was credited with creating some of the beautiful mountains in Scotland. Now, so why do you need to know all this? As I always say, when we look at the meanings of the themes of all of these different goddesses, they do represent qualities that all of us have within us, some more than others. And so if you can call on Nicneven if you are looking for protection, if you want to honor someone who's either recently passed on, and you want to acknowledge them. And I mean, this time of year is a wonderful, beautiful, powerful one to do. I always do some acknowledgement of ancestors and recently deceased loved ones when I do my new moons around this time. She's a great one for those who have passed over, but then also for yourself or for anyone that you love who is imminently about to pass from the living to the dead, to guide them. Call on her to help ease that transition. She's also, the other thing that you can call on her for is she's a really important one. She can help you rectify, and again, use your imagination with this. You don't have to take it literally, but if you take these archetypal themes, she can and take them as just, maybe that's what I'll work on this week or today. She can rectify matters that are causing dissent. So one of the ways that you can do that you can create your own little ritual around it, is to to take a piece of paper, white piece of paper, and write on it the things, and pick someone that you're in a difficult relationship with, that you're angry at or angry with, that there's something that needs to be resolved, something that needs to be lightened, and write down in it, what's the reason, what is it that's, and even if it's an old hurt, write down what you want to release from your relationship, from this difficult, anger-filled relationship, and then burn it in some meaningful sacred fire. Could be a candle in your pumpkin if you carved a pumpkin this year, or something like that. And as you do, ask Nicneven to empower yourself and destroy that negative energy. So, and as I always say, I always suggest ways, I don't always tie goddesses in with the time of year, but in this case it is. But that doesn't mean that you can't draw on these ideas, on these suggestions for working on these issues anytime during the year. So I'd love to hear if you manage something like that, if you pull something off. I had two little, she's often shown as a crone. She's known as a crone, a wise woman crone goddess, but also to shapeshift and look young and like a young maiden. Here's one of her young. She actually doesn't look so young. She's a beautiful. This is her and her fairy queen. One of the images that I found, fairy queen persona, and this is one wearing her gray robes, sometimes carrying a white wand. So envision her if you're going to do any kind of meditation around her. Envision her coming to you and guiding you through this process. The last thing that I will do, is there anything else that I want to, oh, eat an apple, or I've been eating a lot of pumpkin things, soup and everything lately. And those, remember, those are her symbols. Apples, apple cider this time of year, again, in the Northern Hemisphere. Ask for her sage wisdom. That's a way to kind of do your own Nicneven communion, if you will. And I thought I would leave you with, this is a beautiful chant to the what we call the dark mothers, the mothers that stand on the threshold. Most of them are actually crone goddesses, elder wisdom goddesses who stand on the threshold of the worlds of the living and the dead. And this is a beautiful one. It brings in Hela, who's the Scandinavian goddess. Who else is in there? Kali, who I'm actually bringing into my new moon circle on Friday. The Hindu goddess Kali. And then I've talked about Hecate, and I kind of tweaked this particular chant to bring in Nicneven's name. And it goes like this. So I just invite you to kind of sit back and take it in, listen to it. I'll sing it through 2 or 3 times, and you can join. As I always say in my circles, you can join in before you're ready. But take it in, and don't be afraid of this energy. This is powerful energy that when we use it with intention can not only empower and deepen ourselves and nurture ourselves, but then allow us to share that wisdom with everyone else that we love and in the world. So it goes like this. Just settle in. Hecate, Nicneven, dark mothers, let us in. Hela, Kalima, let us be reborn. Hecate, Nicneven, dark mothers, let us in. Hela, Kalima, let us be reborn. Hecate, Nicneven, dark mothers, let us in. Hela, Kalima, let us be reborn. So go into this sacred week, I invite you. And really, don't be afraid of this energy. Embrace this energy. She is a part of you. We all have that crone wisdom power within us, and have the ability to tap into that for our own needs and to support those we love. Thanks for joining me, and let me know what you do when you play with some of this powerful energy this week. Thanks so much for being with me. Bye for now.